book it. And then if I've booked it, I have to pay for it. And if I have to pay for it, then I have to make this business work to pay for it. So that was my vision. And then 12 months after I'd handed in my notice, I took my family to Norway to see the Northern Lights.
I know.
And we saw them.
So I saw those posts and I was so envious because I took my son to because he's autistic. I used to buy him experiences because there's no point buying him something physical. He just sits in a box. I spent the amount of money I've handed over to Woolworths over the years is unbelievable. Well, Woolworths doesn't exist anymore. But your pictures popped up in Norway. I was like, I hate her. I really hate her. It's just like because that place is like, if you want to go and see the Northern Lights, that is like one of the key places to go and see it, isn't it? Yeah. And I think you were there for about a week.
We were there for 10 days.
Because we went to Iceland for 4 days. Amazing. If you ever want to go to Iceland, I'm definitely going back. But 3 nights we went out on the trot, on 3 nights for 12, because you're out for 12 hours. Didn't see a bloody thing. Not a bean. I saw a lot of black sky. So there's your lovely pictures, and I'm just like, because like my fear of missing out like kicked in completely. So what's on your bucket list now then? What are you going to do with your family this Christmas?
Well, I would like to go back to Norway without the kids. That'd be awesome. But actually, what's on my bucket list now is, and what I'm working towards, is buying a big piece of land. So going to buy a big piece of land, going to build a house on it and have some yurts and make it a lovely place for people to come and have a digital detox on a holiday.
Oh, wow. Are you going to do can we do like a writing
oh, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I was thinking a nice place for people to come and do yoga and stuff like that. And, and I just love places that have got no phone signal, because it just forces you to take a break.
Yeah, it does. Definitely. We definitely need digital detoxing, and we need retreats where we can go away and just like focus on a creative element. So, and as you're a keen networker, so there'll be yoga teachers biting your hand off. There'll be nutritionalists. They'll all be there lining them up like buses. So if we just met for the first time, what would you say to me about how important blogging and content is to your business?
I would say to you, how will you tell people about your services if you didn't have Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter? Because those platforms are brilliant. They're all free. Everybody's on them. They're an excellent way to market your business. But those platforms don't belong to you, and they can go at any time. So, having a blog is, I think marketing is like an old school bike, right? So it's a bike wheel, and people think that social media is marketing. Well, social media is one spoke on that wheel, and there are loads of other spokes, and they don't cost any money, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I think you kind of need to have multiple ways of reaching people in case you lose one at any time.
The number of I started my first business in 2000, so I know the grey hairs are starting to show now, and I've been in marketing all my life, and I've seen things come and go. I mean, I've seen social media sites pop up and disappear, but some small businesses never learn their lesson. I have seen businesses disappear overnight because social media have changed their algorithm, and they've got no website, and they've got no email list, or they've got no other way of contacting people. I've seen Google change the algorithms and wipe out millions of websites because they just, they've been telling you for ages, you need to do this, you need to do this, and literally you wake up one morning and that need to do has been, well, we've changed it overnight. And I got involved in an interesting conversation today, where somebody was like, oh, I don't see the point of having a website. I thought that I would need to put a shop on the back end, and actually everything I do is bespoke. So she's been messaging me all day, and I've been sending her links of like website, this is the kind of thing that you need to do. So now Claire, tell us more about how to blog like a boss. Over to you.
Well, I just on the back of that, I just want to say I've seen someone lose their business overnight because
Yeah.
Facebook booted them off their account.
Yeah, seen that loads
You
of
know, and
times.
you know, and I can see every day people who've based their entire businesses around LinkedIn. Well, can you imagine if you'd based your entire business around MySpace?
I
MySpace
know.
doesn't even exist anymore, but at the time it was all the rage. And so was Face Party. Face Party was before Facebook. I
Yeah.
mean, I met people who I still know today on Face Party. And Face Party's come and gone, you know, and social media is trends, you know. We just got TikTok now.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to move on to TikTok. So, you know, your website is like your part of the internet that you own. It's your
It's
digital
your house.
front. Yeah.
It's your
You know,
house.
and I think between that and having an email list, it's really important that you've got those ways of reaching your clients that belong to you and you can control. Because at the end of the day, we don't control Facebook and we don't control LinkedIn or Instagram or any of those.
No, we don't at all.
So
So,
blogging
like a boss. Blogging
what
like a
mood
boss.
I was in when I gave it that title. So I'm going to try not to overwhelm people. I'm just going to kind of touch on the points, and if anybody's got any questions, then we'll have them all at the end. So we've already said it's a really important part of your marketing strategy, and that social media platforms aren't great. You know, they are great, but they don't belong to you. But the thing about blogs is, you know, I mean, I don't know how many of you have got lead magnets, right? And lead magnets are amazing and they're a brilliant way of collecting email addresses. But with lead magnets, they need to be really targeted and really well researched in order to be worth someone parting with their email address. But with blogs, you're giving away something for nothing, right? So people are more likely to click on it and find you through a blog than they will do through a lead magnet if it's, you know, if it's something they could find somewhere else. So giving away something for nothing is a brilliant way of building that, you know, kind of the start of a relationship with your audience, and it enables you to become known as an expert in your field, right? And when I say expert, imposter syndrome is real, right? It's real for a lot of people. They find it really hard to take ownership of the title expert. Now, what I would say to you, if you don't particularly feel like an expert or don't feel comfortable with that, is to understand that you only need to be 2 logical levels ahead of the person that you're giving information to, right? So if I give you the example of, so I'm a qualified teacher, right? And I used to teach history in a secondary school. And I was doing a lesson for year 10 on hyperinflation in Germany, right? Now, I learned about hyperinflation in Germany on Tuesday night and taught the lesson on Wednesday morning, right? So as far as all those kids were concerned, I had information they didn't. That put me in a position of authority and knowledge, right? So you also, you know, you don't need to be, you know, what is an expert? How much knowledge is enough knowledge to call yourself an expert? At the end of the day, you're contributing to a conversation. You're sharing the information that you have with your audience, right? And I think we can fall into the trap of thinking, well, this isn't useful information because, you know, I know it and everyone knows it. But there are people kind of behind you in your journey who don't know. And I think you have to assume that your audience don't know, right? Because there was a time when you didn't know it either, right? But we assume, you know, that our knowledge isn't very valuable because we've got it and we know it, but actually it really is. So, you know, the whole thing around blogs, and I will say the blogs that do really well in terms of views are guides. So they're kind of how-tos. And that is because, you know, when we come to a Google, you know, we are looking for answers. We're looking for ways to do things. So, you know, most of my internet searches start with how to or how do I, because I'm looking for information that I don't have, right? And when you know, I don't know if how many of you, like I was talking to someone today and they were like, oh, I don't really read blogs. And I was like, I bet you read more blogs than you actually think, because whenever you type in something into Google and you're looking for answers, because that's what we're looking for in an internet search, it'll take you to a website where you read something, and that's a blog. It is, you know, I think we think, you know, sometimes we can think of blogs as like really long, like articles like you would find in a newspaper. And often they're not. They're just bullet pointed lists and a couple of paragraphs. A blog is longer than a post, and it answers a question and gives value, right? And the more value you give, the more likely someone is to share it. And then if they share it, you get even more eyes on your business. Because the thing about blogging is, if people know about your business, then they can type your business name, right? But if they don't know about your business, how will they find you? And you've got on your website, if I'm waffling, tell me.
No.
so on your website, right, you've got your static pages, yeah? So your home page, your about page, your product page, testimonials, and they don't change, right? But your blog, if you update it regularly and consistently, that means that Google will recognize that you are refreshing your website with information all the time, and it pushes you higher up the Google searches, right?
So Google have made Google's main business strategy is to put themselves in front of people, and the only way they're going to do that is if when people go to the question, because that's all we do, we go to Google and ask questions. When they ask a question, that the relevant information turns up, because if they can put you in front of that information straight away, you will use Google search engine more than anybody else. But then and Google have been telling people this for 15 years. You put relevant information on your page, which is relevant to what you do, to what people are searching, and we will organically put you at the top, or we'll put you on the first 2 pages. It's not rocket science.
No. And, you know, and I'll say more about that later on, you know, about consistently and how often you should blog, but that's it in a nutshell. It's that relevant, useful information. And, you know, you want to tell the Google search that your website is an active, living, breathing thing, not something that you just posted out on, you know, into the ether and then forgot about. So one of the questions I get asked the most is, how long should a blog be, right? And I'm all about quality over quantity, right? Now, Neil Patel is a brilliant guy to go and search, and he's got loads of free resources and tools on his website. Now, I was reading his website the other day, and he said that people are missing a trick, and that websites should be, blogs should be north of 3,000 words. And I was like, what? Who, what? Who's got time to write 3,000 words every week? I was like, what the fuck? I mean, I could completely see his reasoning for that, because what he was saying is that, you know, and there are so many blogs, right, where the titles are, and I've read them, it's really frustrating, 3 ways to do X, right? And then you click on the blog, and it's not 3 ways to do X. It's basically a pimped advert for that business. And what he's saying is, if you've got an article that is well researched and contains all the answers that your audience are looking for, then they're more likely to spend longer on your website, because they don't need to go somewhere else to look for the answers. So while I understand and I agree with the reasoning, ain't nobody got time to write 3,000 word blogs. Nobody.
How much do you charge for a £3,000 word blog then, Claire?
3,000 word blog? Christ alive, I'd be there a week. I think, you know, for me, if you can say, you know, if you can answer the question and give value in 800 words, why would you do it in 2,000? You know, I don't know if you've ever listened to a child talk, right? But they can talk for 30 minutes and give you zero information. You do not want to be the equivalent of that in a blog, right? My son can give me 100 words and zero information. And it's like, what are you talking about? Keep it, keep it to, think about, what am I trying to help my client with? What is the information that they're looking for? What is the question that they've asked, and have I answered it? And if you've answered it, move on, because nobody wants to read you waffle. Nobody. The other big thing I've got is people don't blog because they're worried about their writing skills, right? Oh, I'm not a writer. The amount of times I've been told I'm not a writer. Well, you've been doing it since you were 6, so you kind of are, right?
Yeah, but I can still hear my English teacher telling the whole class that Shamaine will never be a writer, because Shamaine can't understand sentence structure. I'm 51 and still don't understand sentence structure. So yes, every time I go to write, so every time I've gone to write something in the past, I can hear that English teacher's voice so clear in my head. It is unbelievable.
I remember when I was about 7 and we were asked to write a story in school. And my teacher, Mrs. Hill, what a bitch. She read my story out in front of the whole class as an example of how not to write a story, right? Because I may have sprinkled the word "and" in a few times, right? We've all moved on.
Yes.
But if your audience were expecting or wanted a literary masterpiece, they'd pick up a book, right? They'd pick up Charles Dickens or Jane Austen. They don't care about you. They care, will this blog answer my question? Will it give me the information I want, right? And the thing that I love the most about blogs is that they're your opportunity to have a conversation with your audience in a way that you would have one with your clients. And I always say in all my workshops and all my training, turn up on social media, turn up in all your marketing and speak as you would in real life, because that way you will attract dream clients, people who you'll enjoy working with, and you will repel the people you don't want to work with. And the people that you repel can do a lot of damage to your business. They waste your time, they cost you money, and the biggest damage they do is to your confidence, all right? Because they'll put a magnifying glass over your imposter syndrome. They'll make you feel like you're not very good at what you do. They'll make you, you'll go to bed worrying, thinking about them. They're not worth the time, right? So in all your marketing materials, not just your blogs, write as you would speak to someone. You're having a conversation, okay? And if someone reads your blog and thinks this person is an idiot, that's a big tick in the box, because that's one person you wouldn't want to work with, right? So when it comes to your blogs, if you're thinking, oh God, I'm not very good at writing or whatever, it's not about you, all right? Your blog is about, are you answering your client's question, right? And Pidgin English is an actual language. I only found that out recently. I felt proper ignorant. If I have to, right? So I'm a professional writer, right? I get paid for writing. But I would say my top tip for blogs is get someone to proofread anything you write before you post it. Now, the reason I say this is because when we're typing, our brain's going faster than our fingers, right? So you might think you've typed a word, but you haven't. And when you come back to read your own stuff, you will read what you meant to write, not what you actually did write. So if you've missed a word or skipped a word, you'll read it, even though it's not there. So always get someone, and if it's, it could be a husband or, a wife or, brother or sister or auntie or uncle, just say, can you read this and just check I haven't missed any words out, right? And, and tell them that you're not looking for feedback on the content, just check for missing words, right? That's what I have to tell my husband. I'm not looking for feedback, just fill in the missing words, right? And my other hack is, there's an app called Grammarly, which you can add to your browser, And then if you're really concerned about your writing, what that does is it tracks what you write, and it kind of gives you feedback on what you're writing. So it'll tell you if it's informative or if it's formal, and it'll make suggestions if you're a bit wordy, and basically it just does what it says on the tin, right? And that's just something that you can add onto your browser. And that also, I found, will work when you're writing LinkedIn and social media posts.
Yeah.
It also tracks everything. So, yeah. So, and I just wanted to skip back actually to when I was talking about how long blogs should be. I think it's really important to blog consistently, but being mindful that most of us are self-employed and we're doing everything in our business, right?
Yeah.
So blogging is not a stick to beat yourself with, right? So if you haven't got time to write a blog every week, you know, if you're going to blog regularly, I'd say go for monthly, right? Go for monthly, because monthly is better than nothing, right? Monthly is better than bi-monthly as well. But also, you know, in terms of length, you've got to make it manageable. If you're running your business, doing your business, promoting your business, doing your, you know, your accounts, and looking after your kids, and homeschooling, and, you know, keeping a house clean, and, you know, trying to have a bath or go to the toilet, in amongst all that, blogs have got to be manageable, you know, and an imperfect blog is better than no blog at all right? Nobody's going to be marking it. Just get in there. Get in.
Well, there's always that one. There's always that one person who will quite happily tell you where your spelling mistake is or where you're not right is, and it's better to celebrate your successes and say thank you very much, because there'll always be somebody that will point out what your weaknesses are. And it's just like, yeah, I got my first like negative comment, so crack on, because if you've got a negative comment, they're reading it. And like Claire said, you don't want them as your ideal client. So it's like, jog on, mate.
So, Alistair, just to answer your question, I mean every other month. So it's better to blog every month than it is to every other month, because you really want to be kind of, you know, refreshing that content. And also, have you ever turned up to a website and, you know, you've looked at it and kind of the last date of any entry was 2008, and then you're like, is this person even in business anymore? You know, you kind of, and it's the same on Facebook kind of posts as well, you know, Facebook accounts for businesses where they're obviously not doing business anymore, but they haven't closed it down, and you're kind of like, are you still in business? Are you not? You know, it's kind of, you want to show people that you're there and you're active, and you know, that you're open for business. I had a lady inbox me about a typo in one of my posts, and I just said, yeah, I meant to do it, thanks, next.
I've got a very good friend who's well known in South Wales in the networking scene, and she has openly said on social media that my friendship with her and my knowledge is far greater than my grammar and my English, because she's an ex-English teacher, so she's prepared to put up with that, and she just parks it. But every now and again, she does kind of send me the like emoji, because it's like, I do write, I write like a 5-year-old, and I don't know if you find this, but I actually find, for people who are on the call who don't know me, I'm in marketing, and me and Claire met like a networking conference, and I was given a talk about marketing. But I say to my clients, always start off with FAQs. What's the most frequently asked questions? Because they're the ones that tend to take you away from your business, because everybody wants to pick your brain and ask you. I'm like, well, just write an FAQ. And when somebody says to you, can I pick your brain? You just go, oh, that blog post, I'll just send it over to you. And it saves you so much time and money. But actually you're clicking Google's, because you're answering Google want you to answer questions. You're creating a bank of resources, and it just, you build up that consistency as well, isn't it? So that's, you know, I don't know what you think about that, but that's one of the things I say.
Definitely. I'll come on to that in a minute. I just wanted to talk about, I saw a lady who'd posted for her business last week, and the sentence was something along the lines of, it conjures up images, right? But she had spelt conjure, CONGER, right? And I thought I would never correct that, because I thought, one, I knew what she meant.
Yeah.
You know, I knew what she was trying to say. And two, I'm not a twat. It doesn't matter, you know. And I just thought, and the type of people who kind of get involved in that kind of nitpicking, again, you know, if you've got poor spelling or poor grammar, and you know, and that's just something you have to live with, and somebody can't cope with it, brilliant, you've done an excellent job of repelling those horrible people that you would never want to work with, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that's what I think about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So going on to what to blog about, because this is the big, you know, I don't know what to talk about. Is anybody going to read it? Does anybody care? I think that was actually the top of my list, is your clients frequently asked questions. So what do your clients want to know about? What is the one thing, or the, you know, the top 3 questions that you get asked the most? And use your blogs to answer those questions, because that's obviously what they want to know. My other thing is talking about your clients' objections, right? And I think this is really, really important. There's no point pretending that people don't have objections to parting with us, right? Whenever we're working with people, we're asking them to either part with cash or time or both, right? And people will have reasons why they can't, right? So you want to use your blogs as a way of addressing those objections and getting people over the hump, right? So the example I gave in a post this afternoon was about when I'd had my last son. My last son makes it sound like I've got like 7 sons. I've got 2 sons. When I had my last baby, I thought, I've always wanted a newborn photography shoot, right? I had him in the height of summer. It was very hot. It was very sweaty. It was breastfeeding. It was incredibly stressful. And I thought, I don't know how this works. So I don't know if I book a photo shoot, do I have to go to a studio? Am I going to sit there getting hot? Will the baby sleep? What if I have to feed the baby halfway through? What if we run out of time? And I just never ended up booking it. And that time is gone. And then I read a blog post, sod's law, about 3 months later, saying, this is how a newborn photography shoot works. And this person had said, I come to your house, you know, if the baby needs a break, then we stop and have a cup of tea. If you need to feed, if you need to have a rest, you know, and I only book one of these shoots a day. So you've got the whole day. And I thought, if only I'd known that, I would have booked that photography shoot. So what is it? Think about your objections, right? So what are the reasons that your clients have for not working with you, and overcome them? You know, talk about what it's like to work with you. How does it work? You know, so if you're a photographer, you know, how to choose a photographer. What questions should you be asking? You can talk about locations and you know, help people, you know, take away the fear they've got. You know, I'm speaking to a lady this afternoon, and she's a massage therapist. Some people have never had a massage, and because they're too afraid, because they don't know what to expect. Will they have to take all their clothes off? Is anybody going to touch their boobs? Will they have to show their bum? They don't know. So they're not going to take the chance and risk it and book a massage, right? So it's about addressing your client's fears and saying, do you know what? I understand that. I understand what the problem is. I understand how it makes you feel. And this is how I solve it. So those, you know, so the kind of the guides, the how-tos, the top tips, the troubleshooting, the what if this happens, you know, things go wrong all the time, right? People don't buy services because they wake up in the morning and they think, oh, what can I buy today? What can I spend my money on? They buy things because they want to feel a certain way. And they think having something or doing something will help them feel the way they want to feel, right? So how can we help them get there, right? So for your blogs, I would say, you know, give them the why and sell them the how.
Yeah. We use I say a similar thing. It's like give them what they want and sell them what they need. Don't rush in with, you know, like don't rush in with Clair Stevens, I'm a content marketer. Let me do your copywriting for you. It's like you would open with something like, You know, how visible are you at the moment? Are you getting many leads? You know, it's like those
Mm,
kind of things. And then you would sell me content, because
yeah.
you'd be like, oh, well, I could do that for you and I can get something for you in 2 weeks. Are you interested? Yeah, that's brilliant.
And I think as well, there's a lot of, oh, sell the sizzle and not the sauce. And I think that's bollocks.
It is
Because
bollocks.
I could start with a blog like, you know, do you hate social media? 5 ways to make social media easier, right?
Yeah.
I could write a blog and I could say why it's important to have a social media presence and how to make it easier. But at the end of the day, you know, people are going to consume that information, but they're not always going to implement it because they don't have the confidence, they don't have the time, or they don't want to. So I think, you know, don't be afraid of giving away too much, because there will always be someone who will read your blog and think, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. They'll go away and they'll go, actually, I don't want to do it myself. I want you to do it for me. And they'll come back to you. So just picking up the comments, do you link your blogs to social media? Yes, I do. It's in my to-do. You're running ahead, David. Chill out. So the other two things for coming up with blog ideas, because I know it's kind of like, if you're knackered, coming up with blog ideas, you know, is like, oh my God, getting blood from a stone. So go and see what your competitors are blogging about. You know, if you know, you've got big companies who have big marketing teams who are paid to churn out blogs, you know, every week, go and see what they're talking about. You know, if it's working for them, why wouldn't it work for you? And my last one, and you know, you may have heard of it, is the site Answer the Public. So I really like Answer the Public. I think you get free searches a day. And just what that is it's kind of live tracking of what people are searching for all the time. So it kind of gives you live data about what people want to know about in your industry. So you can just type in a few words in there around your industry and it'll just throw up a load of questions that people are asking right now. And if you're really struggling, go to Google search, type in how do I, and then whatever it is that you do, and it'll autofill the questions that people are asking. You know, the Google autofill, you know, like some of it will probably put hairs on your chest when you see what people are searching for. You'll be like, what? Why would anybody want to know that? But it is a really useful source of information, right? So I'm going to move on and take a breath.
While you're taking a breath, I get clients to use Google Trends as well, to see what's coming up. And like one of the other things is like what's happening in your industry, that's relevant, like right now, that you can talk about, that relate it back to your marketing, like relate it back to your business and what you're doing.
You know, and if you want to keep it super current, go and see what's happening in the news.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, you know, I think for me, when I first started blogging, I kind of fell into the trap of writing about things that I wanted to write about, not really understanding that what I want to write about isn't always the same as what people want to read. And
one of the other things that always works well, and I think I've seen you do it, is behind the scenes writing as well, like what it's really like just lift the cover a little bit, because we all, you know, we have to remember that actually, you know, Claire said about the news is nothing but a content marketing machine. That's all it is. If they haven't got eyes on their story, that they're losing. So they've got to get you back there. And I've forgotten what the because I can't write it down. I forgot what the second one is. And I'll remember. No, go on. Back to you. Sorry.
So I'm going to go through my do's and don'ts, right? So I'm going to start with my blog don'ts, right? Don't plagiarize anybody else's content. See what people are writing about. See, you know, research by all means, but just don't rip off anyone else's content. It's not cool, but also Google recognizes content that isn't, you know, I mean, to a certain extent, you know, when you can only talk about things in so many different ways, and you can guarantee that if you're writing a blog, somebody else has already blogged about it, but use your own words and, you know, don't cut and paste, because Google will know. Blog don't be formal, you know, blogs are conversational. Use them as a way to give your audience an idea of what it's like to work with you, and show your personality. Your personality is, you are your business, right? So be loud and proud about who you are and what's important to you. And I think you've got to be really kind of consistent with how you appear on social media and in your marketing, and how you are in real life. Because I think if I didn't show up like this every day, but I was kind of like super formal and really corporate, can you imagine the disappointment when somebody met me in person? They'd be gutted. They'd be like, who is that? So don't waffle in your blogs. Nobody wants to read your waffle, right? We're all super busy. Nobody reads big blocks of text anymore. We're looking to consume information as quickly and as easily as possible. So stick to the point. And, I would say, and I love a template, use a template. It will make your life easier. It'll make blogging quicker, and it'll mean that you're actually delivering on the promise you've made in your blog title. If you've said the 3 secrets to getting more clients, then you need to give 3 secrets to getting more clients. Otherwise, people are going to be like really frustrated and know that you're not a reputable source of information if you're not giving reputable information. Don't try to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect blog. Absolutely no point. It doesn't exist. And what might be a perfect blog for me might be, not meeting someone's perfection requirements down the road. So don't even try. I would say a done blog is better than a not done blog. Don't worry if no one comments on your blog. I have read thousands of blogs. I haven't commented on a single one. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. Doesn't mean I didn't find it useful. Just meant that I was busy. And who comments on? The only people who comment on blogs are people who are advertising Viagra. That's all. That's the only comments I get anyway.
Or keyboard warriors.
Or people who want to tell you you're wrong, and we don't care what they think anyway. We're not interested in other people's opinions because we can't force them to be right.
No.
Don't post and run. So this is coming back to your question, David. If you write a blog, don't just hang it on your website and hope that people will know that it's there. SEO will go a long way to making you findable, using keywords, making it interesting and relevant. But if you've written a blog, tell people. Tell people on your social media, tell people in networking groups. If someone asks a question and you've got a blog that answers the question, give them a link to your blog. Use your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter and your Instagram to promote the fact that you've got useful information on your website. It's free. It doesn't cost them anything to read it. So you're doing them a favor. So don't post and run. Tell people you've got a blog. Blog do's. Keep it brief. No one wants to read War and Peace. Stick to the point and keep to the promise you made in your title. Have a does what it says on the tin title. I used to write blogs, right, back when I was young and naive. And I would love euphemisms, right? Euphemisms, double entendres, anything that I thought was really clever. And I thought, oh my God, that's so clever. It's really witty. Nobody is searching for witty euphemisms. They are searching, how do I do this? And it's not, you can make your blog titles more exciting, and there are brilliant tools out there to help you help you create titles that are clickbait. But, just have a does what it says on the tin title, because you've got more chance of it being found. Do write about what your audience wants to know about, not what you want to write about. And do repurpose your blogs for social media content. Now, I always say, and this is a service that I do for my clients, is I write a blog. So it's like a loaf of bread. That's my blog. And then I cut it up into slices, and I've easily got a month's worth of content. So, you can take a couple of sentences out of your blog. If you want to know more, click on the link and read my blog. And constantly be linking back to your blog and to your website. Drive traffic there. And offer to guest blogs for other people's. you know. So if you've got a blog on someone else's website and it's, you know, and there's a backlink to your website, that's telling Google that you're, you know, you're a reliable source of useful information. So do that. That's all my tips.
Cool. Wow. This is like, I'm so glad I eventually pressed the record button on this, even though it's on Facebook. It's like, seriously, it's like, oh God, I need a VA. Right. Claire, I don't know where to start. All right. A lot of the 99.9% of everything you've said is basically what I tell my clients. You know, if they just sit down and write an 800 word to 1,000 word blog post once a month, you can splice it, dice it, but I've never heard it called a loaf of bread before, so I might actually start nicking that one, because you can.
That's my Valley's thing. Bread's important to us in the Valley.
Well, I was brought up in the manufacturing Manchester, so you would think, you know, proper working class, so you would think that I would understand that as well. But it's like, you can make pictures out of it, you can ask questions from it, you can try, there's so much fun you can have with a blog post. It's unbelievable. So we will go to questions. I know you've answered some of them as we've been going, and some people I'm looking over here because some people are leaving messages on Facebook, so I've got that bit angled. So you've answered Alistair's about the bi-monthly. You've answered David's about putting it on blog posts. Karen Ratcliffe has said the objection blog is what I needed to know. Thank you, Claire. A lady called Emily Lloyd on Facebook has said, what's the best, actually, let me just explain. Emily runs a tea company called Tea by the Sea. And she's got an online shop. So she said, what's the best platform for a blog? And then she's put a Google business page and social media platform. So what would you say if somebody's got a shop? I'm not sure which software she's running it off, but what would you then put your blog on if there isn't facility on the shop to put a blog on?
On the website?
Yeah.
I would say I'm not very tech savvy, but I know that you can have landing pages. You can just have landing pages, so you could use that. But, you know, LinkedIn lends itself really well to articles as well. So, you know, you could just have a personal page. I don't think business pages do very well on LinkedIn. Yeah. Have a personal page on LinkedIn and create articles there, and, you know, make sure you're using the right hashtags, because people do read a lot of articles on LinkedIn. And yeah, like Alistair said, WordPress setup, you know, that's fairly easy for somebody else who's more skilled than I am to set up a WordPress blog site.
There is Blogger as well, isn't there? Blogger.com, and I think that's now owned by Google, isn't it? Because there's I'm in marketing, as I keep saying, and the father of marketing is Seth Godin, and he blogs every single day. And people have said to him, you know, how can you do this? And he's like, well, I don't own a TV and I don't own a mobile phone, so I have 9 hours a day that you lot don't have. And I think he uses blogger.com. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. And I think that's free, and you don't need any software. You know, it's like you literally can open an account, I think, and just start putting stuff on it. Yeah, it's brilliant. So I can't see anything else on Facebook. So I'm going to open up the floor. If you can either put the question into the chat box or raise your hand, and then if we unmute you, you can come on and ask your questions. So all anybody has to do is go like this, and I will get to you. So who's got a question for Claire then? Kai, you must have questions. It's gone like tumbleweed. Come on.
Is it how do I look so young? Because I've already covered that.
How does she look so young when she's got a football team behind her? Come on.
A 20-year-old son.
Well, while you're all, go on, Andrew. Andrew Brenton, over to you. Unmute yourself, please, and ask Claire a question. Go on, you can do it.
Helps if you click the right button to unmute yourself. Oh, it's been a long day. On formality and being more yourself in your blog, what if your industry is stuffy and got its head up its own backside?
We've got to tell her which industry you work in. Come on.
Legal.
I would say choose a tone of voice that is appropriate for your audience, but an injection of your personality sets you apart from your competition.
Right.
That's a question.
That's a key point, because like, it's like what Claire said earlier. If you talking in a different voice and then you turn up, we've all experienced that, where it's like, hang on a minute, who are you? Because I'm expecting somebody else to walk through the door, not you. And yeah.
And I think as well, you know, and I know that it's a massively overused phrase, but it's all about know, like, trust, right? And people want to work with people that they like. So, you know, I mean, if I was going to choose between two companies, and you know, there was one that I could relate to and have a conversation with about my problem and felt comfortable having that conversation with them, then they would be the ones that I would choose over, yeah, stuffy corporate, we can do the job, we can get it done. Because ultimately that's what all businesses are doing, is solving problems. And you know, you want to talk to somebody who understands how your problem is making you feel. So I think, you know, yeah, you might work in kind of an industry where that type of language is not the norm, but you know, when you're creating an offer that nobody else offers, you know, and you're kind of that personal relationship with your clients, you're creating a market of one. You don't have any competition because nobody else is doing what you're doing, and your blogs are your way of communicating that to your audience.
Oh, thank you, Claire.
Profound.
Mic drop. Come on, the rest of you. You're all like, you've all took goal. Go on, Karen, unmute yourself, please, lovely lady.
Claire, I have a question. You mentioned articles in a blog earlier. Now, I've written one, but what I did was I did a bibliography, because I wrote all my sources, my links to my sources. Am I correct in doing that, or is that not something I need to do on a blog?
I think if you're putting facts and figures in it, and you're kind of claiming statistics, then you need to kind of say where you got it from and link it, because like 80% of statistics are made up. You know, you could purport any statistic to support your argument. So, you know, including a link to, you know, a reputable source of information is a good idea. But I think in most cases you wouldn't need to reference all your blogs.
Right. It's just if I'm using like information from a psychologist's theory or a political theory, and it's in a book, and that's where I got it from when I was actually writing the article.
Yeah, I mean, you can just refer to it, you know, like I might say in a blog, because my reading's a lot less, you know, it's more lowbrow than highbrow. You know, I might say Denise Duffield Thomas says in her book Chillpreneur, but that would be like the limit for me for referencing it, because like I hated it at university, and I'm not going to do it now, you know, when my boss isn't going to give me a row for not doing it.
Right.
I suppose as well, it depends on who you're writing for. If you're writing for your own website, you make the rules. But if you're writing a blog to submit to somebody else, or to, you know, a periodical or a professional, you know, a different, you know, a membership body, or, you know, like an institute, then you would have to kind of follow their requirements for reference in your article. But if it's for your own website, you make up the rules.
Okay, thank you.
It's kind of etiquette, isn't it? That if you're going to like, because if you're going to talk about something that's in somebody else's book or something, that you do show that you, because it builds authority as well, because it's like you're not trying to plagiarize somebody else's work, and actually it shows, and it also shows your ideal client that actually they're the kind of people that you're taking information from as well. So starts to tick the boxes on the kind of the know, like, trust thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely with the trust as well, you know, because like, you know, in a lot of the stuff I talk about, you know, I talk about people that I've learned stuff from, and I will always say, this isn't my idea, this is what I learned from, or, you know, this is what so-and-so told me, or when I did so-and-so's course, this is what I learned. And then I will always say, because, you know, I don't, there's no such thing as kind of new information anymore. You know, we're all kind of recycling and, you know, spreading further the things that we've learnt. I just think as long as you acknowledge, you know, it's different when you say, oh, you know, that's like me saying, yeah, repetition equals reputation equals sales. And I thought of that. Like, I absolutely didn't think of that. That's not my phrase. It's something I say all the time, but I always say, I read it in a DDT book.
Yeah.
You know, and it's her phrase, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, if she got it from someone else, great. But I'm not claiming that I made that up.
Denise, for anybody who's on the call who doesn't know, Denise Duffield Thomas, she lives in Australia. She runs a company called the Money Boot Camp. She used to be known as the Lucky Bitch, and she's had to rename herself because of Google. But she, one of her most famous blog posts is about being the contributor, not the guru. It's like you have to join the conversation that is already taking place, and you have to have your opinion, because that is the bit that's going to stand out. And she put that post out probably about 5 or 6 years now, and it absolutely changed some people's world, because they were people think that they have to have an original idea or original content. Well, it's actually, you don't. You just have to, you know, decide if you stand for that, talk about it. If you stand against it, explain why you stand against it. And so be the contributor, not the guru. People want to ask questions now, Claire. So David, unmute yourself, lovely.
Right, I was going to ask the same thing about putting quotes or references to other people in, because it's something I do on LinkedIn quite a lot, well, not quite a lot, but probably once a week. Well, I'll actually do something like a book review or something, or comment on what somebody else has said in my post, because it's easier sometimes and you run out of ideas. But it actually works quite well. One of my best viewed posts was actually a book review on something called Blue Ocean Thinking. And I linked it back because I got there through 2 other books, a book by John Espion on Content DNA and a book by Sam Rathling on LinkedIn Bound, and they just happen to be on my desk at the moment.
He's getting a commission, clearly.
Yeah. No, but they're really good books. And what it was quite interesting. But the point is that because I did that, I actually got over about 1,100 views on the post, which is a phenomenal for me. So it is something I would do in blogging as well, because it actually, it's still informative, isn't it? It's still telling people good stuff.
Yeah, you know, and then you become known then as someone who can point people in the direction of good information.
Yeah.
You know, and it also backs up your authority, because you're kind of saying, well, I didn't just pull this out my arse, I found it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Most of us would have a wealth of books that we wish that we could read. You know, the statistic, whether it's true or not, is that only 10% of books are ever written. So when somebody's talking about a book that you've been thinking about reading for the last 5 years, it inspires you then to probably go back and pick that book up, especially if it's relatable to kind of something that's going on at the moment as well. So stuff like that, I saw your post, and that was a good post, that, David. Well done.
Strategy, that is an amazing book. Actually, it's not an easy book to read, but because it's very academic, but the theories and the thoughts behind it are just amazing. Basically, it's about you don't have to worry about your competition if you have a brand that creates its own market. And Cirque du Soleil was the big example they talked about. It's a circus, but it doesn't compete with circuses.
If you spend your life focusing on what your competitor is doing, you will always stay in the middle of the motorway. You'll be more concerned about what they're doing. And actually, the market has changed so much in the last 20 years that you know, it's about Claire. One thing I hear what people say about Claire is that she's disruptive, not just disruptive, not destructive. I know, disruptive in her marketing. And it's always a pleasure to see Claire's posts pop up on social media, because she does put stuff up that makes you stop and think. Because the thing with social media is it's very easy to fall into a rhythm, which potentially is the wrong rhythm to be in any case. And what you need is people with authority to actually say, like, have you stopped yourself today and checked yourself? Like, what's going on? So that disruptive kind of marketing repels the people you don't want to work away from you, and pulls the people towards you that you want in your life, if that makes sense. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean disruptive. Sorry.
My mother would agree with you.
Thank you, David. Louise Hall, would you like to unmute yourself?
Go away.
don't, she's got children. Don't worry about that, lovely. Go on.
Oh no. So I'm a children's therapist, so most of my audience would be families or professionals. But I wanted to ask some logistical questions. So on my website, I've done a few, but not a lot. I can type straight in and it's there, or I do it on Word and then the format totally changes. So I wondered, do you do it on Word because you've got a backup of it, or do you just go straight for it? And do you normally have pictures in with it? Like what sort of, so I know they're basics questions, but.
So what I do is I type my blog up as a document, right? And then I go away, and then I come back 24 hours later and I read it and I think, what a load of shit. And then I edit it, right? And then I get my husband to read it and add in all the words that I've missed out. And then I pay somebody else to upload it on my website because I don't know how to do it. And I say, pick an image, any image. That's basically how I do it. Now, your techie questions would probably be, you better off asking the likes of Alistair, because, you know, he knows. And I am literally just the words person. So potentially the most useless answer ever.
It is. It's good. It's always good to include an image.
No, it's good because you save it.
Yeah, because you know, you can recycle it. You can repost it, you can rewrite it, you come back to it 6 months later, you might have changed your mind, you know, you might have, you know, learned a new technique or a new method, or have a different case study, and just, you know, and revisit it and just do it again.
You can even use a piece that you've written, say 12 months ago, and reanalyze it and say, well, actually, I thought that there, but this has happened, and I now think this. Because again, that will develop trust. But the images are always good on blog posts, because our brain processes an image faster than it processes words. And actually, people might connect with an image a lot faster than they will the words, when they're, especially when you're putting them onto social media and stuff like that. Because obviously, if you're driving traffic from Google, they're going in from the question point of view. And then if they're landing onto a page, it's normally the picture that they would see straight away. So yeah, that's why they say include a picture, and then obviously talk to the people on the techie side, because the image has to be a certain size, otherwise it's going to crash your website and you'll end up with other tech issues. I don't know if Alistair wants to add anything to that at all, bless him. We're putting Alistair on the spot now.
Pay someone like Alistair to do it for you.
Pay somebody like Alistair to do it for you. It's just like,
stick to your zone of genius. That's what I do. It's very small.
but the money's in the niche, Claire. Come on, you know this. Claire is really, I've watched Claire over the last year, and she's really nailed down in what she's offering and what she does, and she's seeing the financial elements of it on the back end, which is always good to see. But so in reality, right, because Claire hasn't spoken about this, but in reality, 12 blog posts, that's all you need for 1 year. That is your whole content for 1 year, right? So, and I get people to batch their content. So I get people to write 3 at a time. And actually, if you've got a bank of 12 content, and Lisa Barry's going to be talking in a couple of weeks' time about this, you you register it on somewhere like Trello or an Excel spreadsheet. And actually, those 12 pieces could be like your core, they're your go-to pieces, like, you know, when you can't be bothered to post, or it's like, well, I'll just put that up and I'll just retweak it and do something else. And, you know, 3 blog posts should take you, once you get into the swing of it, should take you about 2 hours to write, and then just go back and re-edit them 24 hours later and get somebody to check it. And so I don't think that 12 pieces of content is a big deal for small businesses. The problem is that we tend to leave it till the last minute. Then we panic. It's like, oh my God, I need to do this now. And then
or we don't do it at all, and we're missing a massive trick.
Yeah, don't do it at all. And the number of people who don't blog, do as I say, not as I do. You know, and I don't know if Sean's on the call, and I know Sean offers a VA service, so I know Sean writes some blog posts and stuff for people. But it's like, once you get into the swing of it, it just becomes quite easy to do. And you stop thinking about it. And I think if you start to see leads coming into your business, then that will benefit, that will make it.
And I think as well, like, there are, you know, one of the reasons that people don't blog is because they don't know how to put it on their website. And I would say in that case, you know, get someone like Sean to do it for you, because it's, you know, it's such a cost efficient investment having a VA to help you with really important jobs like that. And I mean, if, you know, I just think, you know, don't use that as a barrier to not posting up blogs, because for the, you know, for the return on the investment of a blog could be huge, potentially huge. And, you know, it could take me hours to figure out how to put a blog up on a website, and if you've got a tech savvy VA, they could probably do it for you in minutes.
Cool. So I'm going to read Alice's in a minute, but Sean, what were you going to say, lovely? As soon as we're talking about you, you might as well join the conversation. Come and join us, Sean. It's good.
Sorry, how long did you say it took you to write a blog?
Me or Claire?
I thought you said like a couple of hours to write 3 blogs or something.
But it will take the average person a couple of hours to write 3 to 4 blogs. Because
okay.
go on. How long?
I spend far too long writing blogs then.
You can't. But I'm talking about once you've got into the rhyme of doing it, because the first one might take you 3 days.
No, but I mean, like, I write fitness blogs,
right?
And that's my industry. I'm writing from my own knowledge, yet it still takes me a hell of a lot longer than that.
Takes me longer than that. And I write blogs for a living.
No, that's it. So I was just thinking, like, what am I doing wrong here? Because I couldn't write, even though it's all in my head. My blogs will take longer than that.
I think a lot of it depends on how you're feeling, what kind of day you've had, how tired you are, how you can be asked, if you're motivated, if you're feeling excited about what you're writing about. And, you know, it depends on so many things. I think having a template makes it quicker and easier, because if you're faced with a blank white screen, then you can just have performance anxiety and think, fuck, how do I fill that page with words? So I think having a template that breaks it up into chunks makes it more manageable. When you've got a template, you can churn out blogs more quickly. They're kind of standardized. You know, you're not waffling, you're keeping to the point, you're making sure you're including a call to action. But, you know, it depends as well, because like some blogs I write, it's like, it literally is like pulling teeth. And, you know, it's like I am just dying over my laptop. And others I can just bang out really quickly. So I think it's, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about how long it's taking.
Yeah, because quite often it can be something that, like, I quite often, although I'm writing for someone else, I'm another fitness instructor, but she just puts her name on it instead of my name on it. But often I've chosen the subject because I know what she does, but it will still take me hours to write it, even though it's all in my head and it's flowing out.
Mm.
How many words do they end up being then, Sean? Because like 9 times
I try to keep, my contract is there a minimum of 400 words.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I am being paid to provide it, they need to have an expectation.
Yeah.
With another client, they wanted a much longer blog, so I charged differently because I was giving them a minimum of 800 words, which obviously takes longer to write. And if it's not a subject, like I wrote some blogs for someone who creates digital photo albums, and that's not my subject at all. So obviously that took longer because I had to research. Some of it wasn't as hard as I thought the first one was, because I wrote the history of scrapbooking. So that was a good one.
Sounds like a blog to miss.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was like, she didn't fancy writing it, funnily enough.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Up until that point, she'd always written her own blogs.
Yeah,
and then she suddenly decided.
I always outsource the ones I don't want to write as well. She's not daft, is she?
No, I was just like, right, okay, I can do this. In the past, I've done market research and stuff. I'm quite happy with finding out information, which obviously a lot of people aren't. So even though, like, that's another part of writing a blog, isn't it? It's finding the information if it's not something that you know, and that's a skill. So it's not necessarily, there's more to it, like Karen was saying about referencing articles and stuff like that. That's a very different thing to writing a blog that's coming just from your head, from the knowledge that you've accumulated over years.
Yeah, I'm not referring to any like research or something, because you can research. It depends on what you've got to do. You can end up researching stuff.
But even ones that are just out of my head, I would take longer than you do.
Well, I don't. I don't. No, I've done it for clients. So if clients are paying me, I've done it. But I don't. I tend to stay away from it because even at the age of 51, I can still hear. For me, it's the teacher. It's my English teacher. I probably need some. Karen, I probably need some trauma therapy around this. It's the English teacher. I'm a lot faster if I'm writing it for somebody else, but then I write. I always get them to check it, because what you said earlier, Claire, resonated with me, because I worked in the financial industry for a couple of years and they were really horrible to me. And I was held back a lot because I was labelled as having word blindness, which I now know isn't word blindness. It's just the fact that my head is thinking faster than I speak. And if I've typed it, I think the word is there. It's only when somebody points out to me, like, have you missed the whole sentence out there, because that sentence doesn't make sense. I'm like, and even then when I read it, I still read it back in my head like it's there, and I'm like, but I can get away with it because I'm blonde. I just say to people, I'm blonde, point out my error, and the people are very happy to point out your errors if you ask them. But yeah, if it's a technical piece and you've got to research it, then I've known some people to take nearly a month to write an article. But it tends to be because it's going into something really specific where their peers are going to be looking at it, and it's almost like writing oh God, what's that medical one that they all submit to, and if they can get it published in that, they're all of a sudden well, what is it, Claire? What is it,
British Medical Journal, BMJ.
Professions of a Doctor.
Yeah. So it's like, so sometimes it depends who you're writing for, isn't it? Like Claire said
I
earlier.
think it all comes down to the audience. You've got to ask yourself, does my audience want to know this?
Yes.
So is it important to them? So who are you writing it for?
Yes. And Andrew's saying, if you give advice, you need to check that what you are saying is correct. Yes, very true. And Alistair said, images on blogs definitely Does that say definitely? Definitely have a correct way of being done. The more detailed answer is several pages too long for a Zoom question. Much better to have it done by a web expert. I'm sure Claire will, yeah, definitely, totally agree with that one. And Karen is saying, Shamaine, it sounds like you are saying that the rejection affected your self-worth and you have internalized it. Do you know what? It wasn't so much that as well, but every job that I seemed to have between the age of 18 when I was 16 and 30 when I left the corporate world, they would constantly, it was the number one thing. Shamaine would just be all right if she could write properly. And actually, I'll make you all laugh now. I got a job in Cardiff, where 1996 it would have been. And the woman said to me at the interview, "Can you do copyright?" And I said, "Yeah, give me a piece of paper with anything on it. I'll copy that at all. I'll completely copy that." And she sat there really straight faced, and I was like, she was looking at me. I thought, I've said something wrong. What is it that I've said wrong? These were the days before Google and mobile phones. So when I got home, I was like looking at it. I was like, oh shit, copywriting. Like, she actually gave me the job because she said to me, you clearly had no idea what you were talking about. She said, but your honest was like, she said, your answer was so honest. I looked at you and thought, I could work with you.
I would have said I was being ironic.
I actually, up until 1996, I thought copywriting was where somebody gave you something and you just copied it. Who knew?
I thought it meant that nobody else could use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when Lisa Barry was talking to me about being a copywriter, I was like, oh God, that sounds fucking boring. Oh, thanks. Like, no, that's not for me. Can I talk quickly about my Blogbusters course?
Well, I was just going to say to you, right, because I've written down, look, I've written down blog course, look, blog, it says blog course. Blog course. She's got a blog course coming up, which the imagery, I actually peed my pants when I saw that. I was just like, that is awesome.
So if I just give you a bit of background, when I started my business, right, I thought I am going to teach people how to blog because it was a big barrier for people. And I thought it's what they want to know. They want to know how to do it for themselves because not everybody has got the budget to pay someone to write from, right? So, and then I thought, Blogbusters, how clever is that? I went into Snapchat. I pasted my head onto Bob Holness's body, right, with the Blogbusters in the background. This guy on LinkedIn was a graphic designer, thought it was really funny and changed the imagery. So it actually said blog down the side, and I marketed the shit out of it, right? The amount of negativity and backlash I had over that, because I think that was I was really new to marketing my business. People hadn't come in touch with me, in contact with me. They hadn't seen me before. I wasn't doing what everyone else was doing, and it was like completely out of the norm. And I think it really ruffled a few feathers. And I was reading a book by Richard Branson a couple of weeks ago, and it said, do the stuff in your business that's fun. If you chase the fun, the money will follow. But if you chase the money, it'll never be fun. And I thought, well, what's really fun? And I thought, you know what? Blogbusters was fun. I delivered a 5-day blogging course. I was really new to business. I really enjoyed it. I broke all the rules of delivering a course. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it again. My online business manager got in touch with me last week and she was like, Blogbusters isn't in the plan. Where's that come from? And I was like, I just want to do it. I know the demand is there. So on the 27th of July, I'm doing a 5-day course teaching business owners how to blog. So we're going to cover finding out who your audience is. So who are you writing for? What they want to know, how to create titles that will make people click on it. There's a downloadable workbook that everyone's going to get. It includes the blogging template that I have used to create hundreds of blogs. I'm going to show you how to write subheadings to break up your blogs, make your blogs more readable. We're going to be going over keywords and you're all going to leave with at least 20 blog topics, right? One of the things that I got the feedback from the course that I had last time was that it was all well and good being taught how to write a blog, but people went away and they just never actually wrote blogs. So what I'm doing differently this time is I'm going to leave the group open. So I'm going to show up every morning, set you all a task, and then I'll be there in the afternoon to do a live question and answer. But at the end of the week, I'm going to set you all the tasks to write a blog. You can privately then share that blog with me, and I'll be offering feedback or editing and going through it with you. And then going forward, I'm going to pop up in your inbox. You won't know when, and just go, what's your blogging like? How's your blogging game? Because people need that accountability, and blogging is, you know, the return on investment, you know, in creating an audience, in pulling in those leads, in warming that audience up, for the amount of time it takes to write a blog after I've taught you all how to do it is just huge. So I'm going to be popping up in people's inboxes just to, you know, make sure that they're still blogging, keep them a bit accountable. So it starts on the 27th of July. It does have like, it is kind of like the 5-day challenge model, but it's not free, because how many, you know, I don't know how many of you have signed up for a free challenge and then by Wednesday gone, you know, or how many of you have done a 6 or 12 week course and then by week 5 gone, shit, I'm behind. You know, we're all busy, we're all running our own businesses. You know, it's an important thing to learn how to do for your marketing. It's really valuable. It's only 99 quid. 99 quid, it's an absolute no-brainer. So if you want to book onto that, just add me as a friend or connect with me on LinkedIn, Clair Stevenson with a V, and that course starts on the 27th of July. And it will be delivered in exactly the same way I'm delivering this to you now. It's going to be really informal, really friendly, really fun, you know, because if your business isn't fun, what's the point?
Have you got a limit then to how many people you'll be delivering it to, or you just like?
I do have a soft limit, because there's only so many blogs I'm going to be able to read at the end of that course.
Yeah. I did nearly message you and go, have you missed a figure off that price? It's like, I'm sure you've missed, there should be 3 figures in that price.
Because I wanted it to be kind of high value.
Yeah.
But like, I wanted it to be an unreal return on investment. And because it's so much fun for me to do, I thought 99 quid's an absolute no-brainer. Yeah. It's like that book I wrote just before Christmas, the ebook, 30 Days of Social Media.
30 Days of Social Media.
I was selling it for $7.99. Like, I didn't expect so many people to buy it. But for $7.99, it's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple of people have said to me over the last couple of weeks that they've been following that. Because they said they've been following the structure in that. So they can sign up to your blogging course. Where else can they find you, Claire?
So I'm on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm everywhere. I'm on every single platform.
She's everywhere. Are you on TikTok? Are you shaking your booty on TikTok?
No, I'm not on TikTok. My daughter is. I'm not. And I'm on Instagram, but badly. Instagram is not my bag. If I had a social media platform that was my spirit animal, it would be LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I love upsetting people on LinkedIn, because that's mostly what I seem to do, is upset people on LinkedIn. Well, by posting about my dog.
It's easy to do, innit? Now, does anybody else have any more questions, or do they have anything they want to talk about? You've all gone very quiet again. Well, Claire, I mean, I knew it would be a giggle. So thank you ever so much for your time.
Welcome. I hope it was useful.
Congratulations on your, you know, it has. Yeah, we're all going to clap you in a minute. It definitely has. Congratulations on your new office, by the way. Well done. Get you, big girl pants. You know, she's gone from a shed to an office. Yay! And if anybody knows anybody who wants to do blogging, I honestly can't think of a better course to do for £99. The value that you're going to get in that, the return on investment. You know, 5 blog posts later, it'll pay for itself, because you think about how much a price of a client costs you, you know, and then the price is there, and then it's all tax deductible. So yes, thank you ever so much. If anybody hasn't got anything else to say, then I will tell you all to go and start off and enjoy your evenings. So thank you. It's been a pleasure. Take care. But a big clap to Claire. Sorry. Thank you. Yay. Thanks, Claire.
Listening.
Thank you, lovely. Take care.